We've invited our next guest to talk briefly about the global tourism industry's future, in particular under the leadership of Destinations International's incoming board chair, his friend and colleague, Tammy Blount. Having traveled to places as varied as Libya, Iran, and North Korea, he offers uncommon perspectives on long-term thinking and our world of tourism. Please welcome the former CEO of Tourism Vancouver and a former board chair of Destinations International, author of To Timbuktu for a Haircut, Rick Antonsen.
Thank you. Bonjour, mes amis. Bienvenue au Canada. Yes, merci, from the front row. This is great. It's been a while. It's been several years. And, last night I talked to my wife, Janice, on the phone, and I said, in your wildest dreams, did you ever imagine me back on stage presenting at DMAI? There's a bit of an awkward pause, and finally she said, actually, honey, you're not in my wildest dreams. I mean, the greatest risk for a former CEO is to hang around too long, fall into that group where you're forgotten but not gone. It means a lot to be here and have, by the invitation, a few minutes, so it's going to be briefer than I would like because there's so much to say about your new board chair. But to have a few minutes to talk about someone I first met on the baseball field. Tammy and I both played for the Tourism Vancouver team before I was an employee there, and you learn an awful lot about an individual when you play a sport with them. And I wasn't the only one to realize that when someone made an error, Tammy was the first to say, hey, that's okay. We've learned from that. Just don't let it happen again. And when someone got a hit or made a double play, Tammy was the first to be encouraging about, that was good. How do we do more of it? And this is probably the wrong venue to talk about her nickname as Slugger or to talk about her pitching. But we soon later, within about 6 months, I joined Tourism Vancouver and we became colleagues. And what I had seen on the baseball field that defined teamwork was what I encountered with my new senior management colleague and how Tammy behaved in a business environment. And the transition was pure, the encouragement, the endorsements, and the dealing with difficult times and when other people made mistakes or she encountered one, to say, that's fine, but let's get on, let's move on with it. And I watched this happen as she was manager responsible for the Visitor Information Center, which was really aggressive in Vancouver, or when she was heading up membership and happy as the day. You all know this, when what members want is the same as what the client wants. And I watched all these juggles, but perhaps most when she was director of sales and marketing for the leisure travel group. And in Vancouver, that means the world. And it was at that time that I began to understand a lot about Tammy's worldview as it evolved when she had responsibility for marketing and sales in Japan or in Australia, or to see it work in Germany and differently in Britain or the United States. And as all of that evolved, I learned a lot of things and I saw a lot of things about her that I think it's important for you to know. You're aware of her integrity, but at those very earliest days, we all saw an independence of spirit and ideas and fresh ways of looking at things. And what was an almost unquenchable thirst to run toward life in everything that was happening. But we also learned that if you want to debate with Tammy, which many of you have done or will want to do come prepared for a fact-based adult-level discussion or don't show up. And you plan to be articulate because Tammy will be articulate. You never have to wonder what's on her mind. She will tell you. It's no coincidence her last name is pronounced Blount. Tammy has the philosophy of a cathedral thinker. And for any of you unfamiliar with that, which is a philosophy which every destination should have, cathedral thinking in a nutshell is this. Say in the 1400s, you lived in Europe and your city came to you and asked you as an architect to design the new cathedral for the town. you'd begin that task knowing that you would not live to see it completed. If you were a stonemason and you were laying the cornerstone and the foundation blocks, you would be doing so knowing that you'd never be around. You'd be dead by the time the spire was going, but perhaps a grandson or a granddaughter or a great-grandchild of a neighbor would be completing the task you were starting. Tammy has brought that philosophy to every community she's touched, whether it was Tacoma or rallying things to get together to address challenges statewide in Washington, or more recently, what she's been doing in Monterey. And that is the way to keep the existing generation tethered to the future. It is that willingness to look far down the road and see what you are doing today being very, very important. But the beneficiaries might not have visited your destination yet. They might not live there. And in doing this, she's accomplished many things, one of which, and I've seen this time and again, has been to convince elected officials to think beyond their mandate and act beyond their tenure. Think beyond their mandate, act beyond their tenure. And of course, Tammy now will be taking those skills and that experience onto the national and the international stage as the new chair of DI, DMAI, IACVB, old habits die slowly. She will be doing that. And it's important for those of you who are members and in your jobs, which are crucial, no matter what you think you've ever done and how satisfied you are with the jobs you've undertaken, everyone in this room, your most important work is ahead of you. And it's a great good privilege to live in the same times as Tammy in her board chair role. It will do extremely well for this organization. Often in jobs like the ones that you have, it's not what you do that matters, it's what you cause to happen. And I can tell you from observation, watch in the next year, because Tammy's going to cause a lot of things to happen. I want to close and then bring Tammy back up, but I want to close talking just ever so briefly about something that I know is really important to Tammy, because she and I are very aligned on this, and we've had our conversations, and I know that this resonates. So while I'm saying it because I'm the one here, know that this also is such a part of her worldview, the country's, all the people who are involved in DI and in this organization. So I leave you with this admonition. There are 216 nations that call this tiny planet their home. Each of us in this room is but one step or two away from somebody from every one of those countries. They may be family, they could be a friend, maybe a colleague, they could be attending a conference that we help convene, they could be someone we sit down next to in a restaurant and have a coffee when we're on our own travels. Tourism, more than any other industry, takes down the barriers to understanding. You are about bringing people together to share ideas and learn from one another and to celebrate our differences. Tourism is a vital force for peace, and it behooves each of us in this room to consider what we can do individually and collectively so that one day every leader in the world shares in our belief that safe passage and the right to assemble are fundamental freedoms for all people. Please welcome in joining us back on stage, Madam Chair.
Wow. Bonjour. Quelle joie être ici. C'est ma première occasion de vous accueillir dans la belle ville, Montréal, et dans mon pays d'origine, the Canada. Hopefully that was French speakers encouraging me. What I said was good morning and what a joy it is to be here. This is my first opportunity to welcome you to the beautiful city of Montreal and to my home country of Canada. What an honor to be introduced by Rick Antonsen. And we were talking earlier, and I was trying not to say most people's heroes are dead, because he's clearly still standing, but a legend in our industry, and the reason I get to stand here today. I know that when I tell you that I have deep gratitude for Rick's mentorship and friendship, that I feel a deep connection to him, whether I get to spend a lot of time with him or go months with no communication, that if you know Rick, you feel exactly the same way. I got to go to his retirement party a couple of years ago. 700 of us showed up to give thanks for his part in our lives. Everyone needs a mentor. Gender, age, nationality is irrelevant, and I have had the honor to have had many. As Rick mentioned, I met him when he was playing on our softball team for Tourism Vancouver prior to his working there. His girlfriend then and wife now was on the Tourism Vancouver team at the time. Before long, he became our CEO, and a little story, at his first board meeting afterwards, we had a reception. I was helping to pass out beverages, and I spilled a beer right down his pant leg. He just brushed it off and carried on. Bruce McMillan, who many of you know, and another guy that I've learned a lot from, leaned down, he's very tall, and he said, "Well, that was a career-limiting move." It turned out, and if you travel with me, you've probably worn my drinks, that that hasn't held me back. The dozens of times that I've done that, you all still keep hanging around me, so thank you. It's a moment I will never forget, but I'm going to bet that Rick has no recollection of it at all. I got to work directly with him for 10 years. I left Tourism Vancouver at the end of 2000, and to this day, there is not a week that goes by that I don't find myself in some kind of pickle and ask myself, WWRD, what would Rick do? Thank you, Rick, for always being so generous to me and so many others. It's so appropriate and special to me that his induction into our Hall of Fame also comes this year. So mentors come in many forms. My mom, my sister, my cousins, Maura Gast, Martha Sheridan, Bonnie Carlson. These women instilled in me the courage to believe that I could be or do anything I set my mind to, and never ever to consider being a woman as a disadvantage. The senior leadership that is at the Monterey County CVB is a brilliant, inspiring, competent group of professionals that challenge me every day to bring my best self, to bring an environment that celebrates vulnerability and that uses failure as a springboard for determined improvement. Patrick, who is horrified that I just said his name into a microphone, has instilled in me trust and hope that good guys can finish first, that people of unwavering integrity exist. He has shown me what a true life partnership means. Teenagers, kids, provide an amazing mirror, and they'll call you out in a heartbeat, won't they? So they become our mentors too. And don't we all have a road family? Mine is as important to me as my blood family. Folks like Maura and Martha, Scott Beck, Rich Reasons, so many of you in the room, you know who you are, too many to mention. I have traveled with these crazy people for many, many years. They have seen me through job, nation, and partner changes. They've been mentors in loyalty and commitment, strong values we stand by, honesty, and doing right by others. Our road family is a network of support that helps us get through what we do at home, as well as the pain of being away from it. So there's much celebration in my nickname, 5, and I have it because, as Gary mentioned, I'm only the 5th woman to chair this association in its 104-year history. We invited you all to wear some pink today. Congratulations to those of you. God bless Paul Griffin in his pink suit. To celebrate women in leadership. This year is historic. We have four women chairs. Stephanie Pace Brown for the foundation, Maura Gast for the CDME board, Virginia Haley for the accreditation board, and of course, me at the association. We even have 2 women on the... We even have 2 women on the executive committee for the coming year, as we did last year. And I'm proud to say we have our first Canadian woman chair. And with our new identity, of course, our first chair of Destinations International, also a woman. So that's pretty cool. Women in leadership is getting a terrific spotlight. And as the founder of SWWGSD, that stands for, everyone with me, Smart Women Who Get Shit Done. This is, this is an outstanding moment for all of us, but it's not just about women in leadership. Destinations International is about continually finding and sharing new and better ways to make a difference, to explain our impact, to build communities and ultimately forge that path to global engagement, building understanding between countries and cultures, and yes, world peace, or at least an increased shared trust and knowledge around the world. Rick spoke of this, the notion of cathedral thinking, working towards a common goal, a legacy, something that doesn't happen overnight or even sometimes within our lifetime. This is a time to celebrate being a part of this worldwide family, to take advantage of all that we have to share when we're together, to collaborate on a long-term vision of our industry's legacy, to break down barriers between cultures and nations or even between states and cities, to exchange stories and build a global intelligence, to find your teachers and mentors. And while the formal education that we have here is important, learning from one another, supporting one another, that is the heart of what Destinations International means to me. There is an art to what we do. We are practitioners of a craft that requires deep, thoughtful, and measured plans executed with nimble excellence. We must consider realities, perceptions, trends, learn from the past, predict the future. We must be able to read the minds of our stakeholders, our communities, and our customers, anticipating what they need and delivering what they will embrace. We must mind our words and actions at all times, balancing diplomacy with courage. And even when we do all the right things, political winds can snatch away success, jobs, or a sensible direction in a heartbeat. We lead a life of extraordinary privilege. We create moments that people will carry with them forever, forever. We create legacies for our communities. We create jobs for our neighbors. We create platforms for conversation leading to greater understanding and discoveries. We influence policy, development, and ingenuity. We enhance the quality of life for our neighbors as well as for our customers. And on top of all of that, our personal lives benefit. We travel the places many only ever dream of. We have extraordinary experiences that most never have access to. And we have this network that makes all of that possible. This organization, Destinations International, provides the education, research, and foundation we need to figure all that stuff out. Our partners, the folks in that exhibit hall, provide additional tools of support from technology to talent procurement and everything in between. In my nearly 30 years of involvement with this organization, I have been welcome to participate, as Gary mentioned, in committees, task forces, conversations, and projects that have enabled me to build a skill set that is robust enough to feel confident that I can face all of these challenges. Most important of all, that participation has brought me to you. This network of professionals is so generous. You are more than colleagues. You are more than friends. At many times over these years, you have made all the difference in my life, the filters through which I view it, and the gratitude I feel to be living it. When I have needed knowledge, you have taught me. When I have needed support, you have propped me up. When I have needed to understand my capabilities, you have reminded me that I am competent. When I have needed humbling, you have certainly taken me down a peg or two. When I have needed inspiration, you have completely blown my mind. And when I have needed a hug, well, we are a huggy crowd. Those are always present. There are trade associations for pretty much everything. But I can't imagine that there are many where simply, like this one, where simply leaning in and showing up and participating shows such holistic benefit. So when the opportunity arose to join this board and then to serve in leadership, there was really no greater opportunity that I could think of. I am honored. I am excited and inspired to stand here today. We are here in Montreal while the city celebrates its 375th birthday. We are here in Canada that celebrates its 150th birthday, all in the year I celebrate my own 50th birthday. I don't hide my age either. Of course, I'm not 33. The stars really couldn't be aligned any more perfectly. I am so excited about the year ahead. It's a new day at Destinations International. Be a part of what's going on here. Get involved and see what tomorrow brings. Thank you.
All the right places. I see the magazines working that Photoshop. You know that stuff ain't real. Come on now, make it stop. If you've got beauty, raise them up. Every inch of you is perfect from the bottom to the top. My mama, she told me, don't worry about your size. Boys like a little more booty to hold at night. You know I won't be no stick figure, silicone Barbie doll. So if that's what